Journey with Judy. Honest, open, transparent. It's hot.
There's no such thing as perfect.
Oh my goodness, it is Christmas Eve. It is actually Christmas Eve. I just said to Robin, oh my gosh, it's Christmas Eve. And she said it's Christmas Eve morning. So I don't know what that looks like in your house, but I can tell you, I am so looking forward to this evening, because this evening is when we get to make our kids do that dreaded thing that we make them do every single year, which is take the family picture. Okay, once a year, like that's all I ask for, is this once a year that we take this family picture, and it's just like everybody else's family picture, that it looks really, really good, but it's so awful, like the things that are being said and implied, insinuated, and the entire time the picture is taking place. I mean, really, we should just all stand there and give the finger with frowns on our face, because that's what's happening. But we smile and we dress the same and we dress it up so it just looks so perfect. And so here's what I know this Christmas Eve, it is so about perfection and about incorporating the imperfection, which is indeed perfection. And I, my friends, and maybe those of you who tune in do think I'm a bragger. I don't even think I'm a bragger. I think I am really transparent, and I admit all my shortcomings, so you can't use them against me. But in the few occasions in 2017 where I rose to the occasion and killed it, I just got to give all that glory to God. And guys, I have to tell you, I'm killing it in regards to my kids. So they're all under one roof at the moment, and it's so interesting because they came home one at a time, and the dynamic just kept shifting and shifting. And I noticed Campbell's a little less patient with me when Kennedy's around, because I think she thinks it's funny to diss me. And but here's the deal. I made this conscious decision, right? I started thinking about the holidays with the end in mind. What is it that I want my kids to feel, having been home for this short, finite amount of time under the same roof, which, let's be honest, next year might not happen for a million reasons. Anything could happen that would stop us from being present to one another in the same way next year. So I just wanted to be mindful of, keeping the end in mind and what it is that I want them to be feeling. And so I surveyed all of them upon arrival home, didn't do it over text, did it face to face, and asked them to how specifically I might contribute to making their time home awesome, right? Because what happened the last time they were all home is at least one time they all said, this is why I hate coming home, right? Or they made some reference about how much they hate being there. Like, that's some strong language, okay? And that's very hateful, and it's very hurtful, and it's said in the moment. But I really took all that to heart and said, I don't want them to say that, or even worse, I don't even want them to think it. I want them to know that this is the place they want to go. And while my rules don't change because they get older, because here's what I think they're wiser, so the rules should be more, easily embraced. We'll save that for segment 3. But the bottom line is I am killing it. And what was so interesting was the reason I'm killing it is because I didn't only think about it, but I set this intention, and I am literally praying every day to show up exactly the way God wants me to show up, to be present to my children in a way that would make him known, where even when I know they show up as Satan, that it's like, I know, Jesus, I know you're in there. Just please come out right now and make yourself known to me, because sometimes these kids, you love it and you hate it at the same time, right? So if you're anyone who has kids that are different ages and they've gone away to college and they've come back, they tend to think they're still at college. And so I had to remind my 2 boys, because now I have 2 boys that are of age to drink. And of course, they both made mention of that before they arrived. I'm not saying they have not drank before this time. I'm just saying now I really can't control it. Although I would not be surprised if someone does see me show up at a bar at about 2 a.m. in Walworth County in the next 2 weeks. So I'm just putting it out there. It is what it is. But anyway, so I really am grateful for the fact that I am killing it in the way that I'm showing up exactly as I intended. And I'm sure that you're much like me, that we do things and it's like, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why couldn't I be more mindful of the fact that these moments with our family, being present to the people that we claim to love the most, right, but have the least amount of patience for, it's a finite thing. At any point in time, the presence could be disrupted, right? So it is so about this Christmas Eve. It is so about the presence and not the presents. While my but I've been interviewing people about what they do for Christmas for their kids to try to, stop going over budget. And then I reported back to Campbell that everybody I talk to does less than we do. And so Campbell was like, listen, do not compare, Mom. Just do what you've always done. Anyway, you're journeying with Judy right here on Lake 96.1, and we're going to have an enjoyable show talking about the presents over the presents and how we can be mindful and when we meet Jesus in the manger this time tomorrow. You're listening to Judy Hehr right here on Lake 96.1. So it's Christmas Eve morning and all is bright. The Hehr family picture is gonna happen tonight. So I know you think this is kind of crazy, but for me, it's the only thing I ask for Christmas is a photo. When I am dead and gone, my kids will be so glad that I made them take this family picture. And what's so interesting is they all take pictures, a million of them. But when I want to do it, it's totally unreasonable. Now, I did have someone make mention to me recently that they noticed in my book, which I'm selling so many copies, Robs, I can't even believe it. So many people are taking advantage of the 2-for-1 special. I love that because I know it will bring hope in some capacity to whomever decides to pick it up and read it. But anyway, someone picked it up and read it and texted me and said, it just dawned on me that your children are 22 years old and you still have them dressing in the same outfit. So yes, we will be at St. Francis this evening, and my boys will be dressed in the same shirt, and myself and my girls will be dressed in the same shirt. And what's so funny is they don't complain about that as 22, 21, 19, and 16-year-olds, but they complain about actually taking the picture. So here's the deal. We're talking about being present and how the presence, it could not possibly make up for the presence, right? So the presence of Jesus, like how mindful were you approaching this season, this holiday season, that Jesus is the reason for the season. And so while sometimes it's hard to see Jesus, I mentioned earlier in the show that sometimes it's really hard to see Jesus in my children. Like, I know he is in there and I'm determined to bring him out. And so what you think about, you bring about. And I am determined to make this time home with my family because it is so finite and it may never be this way again, that it's an amazing and best Christmas ever. So I'm setting that intention. And so here's some of the things that I've been, doing. So 4 kids presents, there's no doubt about that. 4 kids are present. There's no doubt about that. Cooking and cleaning is a matter of fact. The beds are unmade. There's empty toilet paper rolls. Tonight we will talk about 2018 goals. There's multiple pairs of shoes at the door. There's coats over chairs, but I choose to ignore. I'm choosing my battles and embracing the time. I'm wanting to freak, but instead being kind. So I am totally like my kids only just one time, and I think it's habitual for them to say this when they see my face, because this is my face. Don't have the best RBF going usually, but I've been working on that also in 2017, is they'll say, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Okay, over text, when I pick them up in the car, before they even see my face, they say, "What's wrong?" So I can honestly say that I have heard only one time, "What's wrong?" However, they have really just focused on Bob being crabby, which is perfect because it totally takes the spotlight off of me. But the bottom line is I am doing that which I set out to do, which is being someone who is filled with joy. And you know what? I'm realizing that the coats on the chair and the 2,000 pairs of shoes at the door and my kids use a blanket and they get up and walk away. It's like, I just think of Jesus's tomb. I'm like, oh, that's what Jesus did. He just got up and left. And so I'm happy to fold their blanket. I follow them around. I make their beds. So when they're home from college, I am their servant. Okay, that's one of the things consistently they all said when I said, how can I make this time enjoyable? They said, serve me. So I do this. And some of you might think that's crazy. I have a business partner right now who cannot believe what takes place in my house. But my kids will literally sit on the couch and shake their mason jar, meaning it's empty, come bring me more water. Now, here's the deal. I love this. I love being there. I love serving them. But I also love being appreciated, right? I mean, I've asked all of them what they wanted to eat while they were home. So I've made all the requested meals. And here's the thing. I've done everything they've asked me to do. But if I showed up not filled with joy, with my heart not being in the right place, then all those gifts that I gave them, all the presents, the food, the waiting on, the making of the bed, the picking up after them, could never outweigh the presents, right? So it's about that. It is about the presents over the presents. So what I love so much about Christmas Eve is being mindful of how this whole thing started, where like out of the blue, Mary was told like this is going to happen to you. And she was kind of uncertain, right? Kind of confused. Like, how can this possibly be? But wait, another sidebar. The other day I went to the doctor with Campbell. And so she had a stomach ache and the doctor said to me, said to Campbell, is there any way she could be pregnant? And so speaking of the Immaculate Conception, and so my daughter said, well, unless it's the Immaculate Conception. And I said, and if it was, she wouldn't live to leave this room to tell anybody about that. So anyway, so we're so mindful of the fact that Mary was like, how can this be? Like, how can this possibly be? And she was reminded by this angel that like, it's really not about you, but it becomes so about you and your willingness, Mary, to let it be done according to God's plan for you. And so, as we're winding down this 2017 and we're just hoping and praying to find Jesus in the manger, like, nothing could be stranger than Jesus in a manger. And nothing could be stranger in the way that Jesus shows up in the most simple, profound way to just change everything, to make things possible that seemed absolutely impossible. Like Mary was saying, like, how could this be? How could this possibly be? And, I'm also so mindful this holiday season while I have the privilege and the blessing of, all of my children under one roof with a man that, only with God making things possible are we all standing under one roof, the Hehr family. That there are people who are without this holiday season, without food, without shelter, without peace, without love, without a spouse, without whatever, right? What is it that we are without? And we always can choose to focus on what we are without, or we can choose to focus on what we are with, because Emmanuel means by definition, God is with us. So God is with us all the time, every time, in the storm, in the rain, like through the pain, like he is just there preparing the way. And it's always preparing the way for our highest and best good. I was not even going to cry on the show, but here's the deal. We spend so much time approaching Christmas on a mission to get what we think we want or what we think we need. And the reality is we have everything we need, because this time tomorrow morning, Jesus shows up on the scene to turn everything upside down, to make his presence known that couldn't possibly surpass anything else. Nothing could be more important than that. And so this Sunday, or what is it? Sunday. It is Sunday. So tomorrow morning, I pray that when you wake up, you are so mindful over the presents, because I know my kids are not going to be about the presents. They're going to be about the presents. I'm talking about, like the presents, like who got how many, you spent more on that person, et cetera, et cetera. And so I am still with a 22, 21, 19, and 16-year-old counting presents. And here's the other confession. I still went out and bought presents for Bob. And just like back in the day when the first Christmas we had together, I made sure that he knew how many presents I had, so then he would go and get me exactly the same amount. You're journeying with Judy right here on Lake 96.1. And it is about the presents over the presents. Thank you to Greg Cunis for the gift of this show. We'll be back after the break. Okay, so we've been singing for this whole Advent season, O come, Emmanuel. Like, come and be present to us, Jesus, in whatever way you see fit, because that's always the best way, right? And I don't know about you, but I think it's normal. I think it's normal that we just get caught up like doing all the things that we're supposed to be doing, getting ready for Christmas, that we really don't do what we ought to be doing, which is being so mindful of the reason for the season. So I know I was like shopping for one particular thing. I was on a mission to get what I definitely, this one thing that I needed to get, but like I missed altogether what I needed the most, which was maybe to be present to the person at the store, or to be mindful of the Salvation Army people, or, that are collecting the dollar, you know what I mean? So I know that this year I just tried so hard to be more mindful and not have my mind just full, right? To be mindful of the presence over the presents. Now, I do really love presents. I absolutely love them. And so, but here's the thing. Carter said, Mom, just so you know, I didn't get presents for everyone. I thought my presence was the presents. So I said, if you're going to show up on the scene, and be loving and kind and merciful, we appreciate that. But otherwise, we'll take presents, just regular old presents. Well, one year Carter came home and he brought us all presents, and I thought it was really kind. And the next morning I was like, that was really sweet. And then he admitted to me that the sweatshirt he gave me, some girl left at his apartment. So he recycled a gift. So if you're listening and it's yours, you can have it back. I've never worn it just as a matter of principle. But anyway, so sometimes we focus on, what we don't have, right? And so 'tis the season, he is the reason. The Emmanuel, God with us all the time. So we, it's over now. I mean, we're going to open presents tomorrow, and we don't want to get lost in the presents and miss the very thing that we waited for this whole Advent season, which is the presence of God. And we do that, whether we know it or not, whether we deny it. It does not change the simple fact that we buy presents for everyone but Jesus, right? I mean, I don't know what you're giving Jesus this Christmas, but one of the new traditions my family does not know about that we're implementing this year tonight for our Christmas Eve is we are all going to be mindful of the very thing that we think Jesus wants us to give him in 2018. What is that thing that we find that distracts us? What is that gift that we could give Jesus that kind of the barrier between him and us, kind of the thing that he really knows that we don't ever want to give up or give him, turn over, surrender once and for all. But it is that one deal changer thing that, like if he came to the house and said, if you gave me a gift, what would it be? And he would say, I just want you to want to spend time with me. So could we be present to Jesus in 2018 in a different way? Could we be present to Jesus just finishing 2017 in a different way? Because the presents are always better than the presents. But instead we choose chaos over peace. We choose presence over presence. But I have chosen to end this Christmas Eve show with a poem that I wrote for you last year, and I just added a little bit to it. So what you look for affects what you see. All I'm wanting is for you to see me. This is Jesus. I'm in all the details, the highs and the lows. What you want, what you need, only I really know. See, the present you want and the presents you buy can never compare to my presence. Just give it a try. I promise to give you all that you need. What's expected of you is to stay focused on me. When all things seem confusing and there seems not a way, you can be still. Just trust and obey. Be like the wise men who followed the light, Joseph and Mary who had taken flight. Not to a hotel or an inn, but a manger to birth the Son of God. What could be stranger? Because things are not always what they had seemed, but all other standards. It was kind of a bad dream, right? They came to they tried to go to a hotel, Robs, and there was no hotel. Got it? Okay, the night we call Christmas cannot be compared to the questions and confusion that all involved must have shared. How could it be that they followed this light? They were wise and they knew that God's word is right. Okay, so Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I pray that your prayer this Christmas Eve is that you too let it be done to you according to God's will, because his plan is always for your highest and best good. Thanks for journeying with Judy, and have a Merry, M-A-R-Y, Christmas. Peace out.